Bringing people and communities together on seclosounds.org.
Your listening station.
On this show we talk Aruba. For those of you who don't know where it is, it's in the Caribbean. I'll be concluding my series on using the internet to research travel and holidays. And are you one of the people who are scared of flying? Well, we'll find out how hypnotherapy can help you get on that plane. All coming up on the Guinn Travel Show. Hello dear listener, and welcome to this edition of the Guinn Travel Show on seclosounds.org. Coming up later in the show will be the concluding part of my series on using the internet to research travel. And we'll be speaking to Lee Adley about how hypnotherapy can help those who have a fear of flying. There'll also be travel news too. But first, Aruba. I wanted to find out more about what this island in the southern part of the Caribbean can offer the UK visitor. So I spoke to the Area Director Europe of the Aruba Tourism Authority, Tirso Trump, to find out more. Tirso, whereabouts is Aruba, please?
Aruba is located south in the Caribbean, just off the coast of South America, about 30 to 40 kilometers off the Venezuelan and Colombian coast.
Most Caribbean islands seem to have a violent past, with various European countries fighting over them. Was this the same with Aruba?
Pretty much, yes. We have been discovered by the Spanish in 1499, and they have ruled Aruba for a long period, and then in 1636 the Dutch took over. We had a brief British rule from 1805 to 1816, and then the Dutch took over again, and we've been Dutch ever since.
Not many Dutch islands, I guess.
In total, there's 6 islands in the Caribbean that have been colonized by the Dutch back then.
6, that's more than I thought. I'll have to brush up on my history.
Yeah, it's mostly very small islands. They use them as basis for piracy.
Okay. What's the climate like down there?
We have a year-round good weather of 30 degrees every day. It's a quite dry climate. We have an official rain season from December till January, with cooling trade winds the whole year that make it make it a bit cooler. And we are outside of the hurricane belt, so it's a year-round good weather destination.
When flying from the UK, how long does it take to get there?
It takes about 9.5 hours.
Are there direct flights, or do you need a connection?
In the summer, we have direct flights with Thomson. They fly to Aruba from May till October, and the whole year you can also go to Aruba with KLM via Amsterdam.
Do you know how many British travellers visit each year?
Yes, we have approximately 10,000 British visitors per year.
Do they need a visa to get in?
No, people with a European passport, a European Union passport or British passport can go to Aruba, no problem, and you can stay there and spend a vacation up to 3 months, no problems.
Is there any compulsory recommended jabs or other medication needed?
No. We have a very safe island, very good medical system, so there's no medication needed to go to Aruba.
That's good, because I'm really bad with needles. Some of the islands have departure taxes and other tourist taxes. Are there any in Aruba?
Yes, of course, we do have taxes. Most of them, when you travel to Aruba through a tour operator or with an airline, they're already calculated within the prices. The only one that is charged on the island is a new environmental levy. It's $3 per room, per room, and that will be charged when people check out. But all the other taxes are calculated within the rates already.
It's a similar tax in a lot of European cities now, isn't there?
Yeah.
What is the official language there?
On Aruba, we have 2 official languages, Dutch and Papiamento. Papiamento is the local language. It's a Creole language, and it's spoken at home. And since 1995, it's also taught in schools, as we have now established the official grammar. And Dutch has been the official language since the Dutch ruled Aruba back in the 1600s. And our whole education system is based on the Dutch system. So in school you learn Dutch and Papiamento now.
Is it easy to get around once you're there?
Yes, definitely. Aruba is a small island. It's only 34 kilometers long and 9 kilometers wide. And we have a very good public transportation system that goes all around the island. Also, you can rent a car easily and drive all over the island, no problems. It's very hard to get lost because it's so small. And we have also lots of taxis. People on Aruba speak almost 4 languages: Dutch, Spanish, English, and Papiamento. So, you can grab a taxi and they can bring you wherever you want on the island, give you recommendations as well.
Do you drive on the left or the right-hand side of the road?
We drive on the right-hand side on the road.
The wrong side then, he said. I feel brave. I'm separated by a phone line.
Yeah.
The accommodation there, is it all big resorts or is there a mix?
It's a big mix. We have some large chains such as Hyatt, Marriott, Radisson. We have some locally owned smaller hotels which tend to be on another beach. We have 2 main beaches, the Palm Beach with the bigger hotels and the Eagle Beach with the smaller hotels. But all around the island we have small apartment complexes and bed and breakfasts if you wish. And now a new trend we see is a lot of villas being rented out. So a lot of people going for that option as well.
So there's plenty for everybody there then.
Yes.
What are the must-sees and do's for a visitor?
Well, our main attraction is our beach, or our beaches. We have one large beach of 11 kilometers. And on the other side of the island we have a rugged north coast, which is a very contrasting to the calm beaches. And so on the north side, it's very rugged. There's very little infrastructure, very adventurous. We always recommend people to do a jeep safari on that side of the island, or horseback riding or mountain biking. And what's also very highly recommended is to go dining out. We have more than 200 restaurants on the island, different cuisines, local to international, and every price range. And we also encourage people to go, hang out at the local places. We call them rum shops. It's very small local hangouts where the local people have a drink on Friday. You can get into some nice conversations. And last but not least, we have a very nice little capital, Oranjestad. And we recently had a lot of historical buildings renovated, so it's really worthwhile to have a little stroll downtown Oranjestad. And the latest addition to the capital is a tram. We have a tram now driving around Oranjestad, making stops at all the hot spots in town. And I think we have the only tram in the whole of the Caribbean.
Yeah, now you mention that, I can't remember seeing trams anywhere else.
No.
With 200 odd restaurants, it must be difficult to come back lighter than when you went there, I guess.
Yes, we always recommend people to diet before you go, because when you go to Aruba, the food is excellent, and when I go, I always have to diet to lose at least 5 kilos so that I can enjoy the food and the drinks there.
You're listening to the John Guinn Travel Show on seclosounds.org.
The Drive Time Show with Nigel G every Monday to Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. online at seclosounds.org. The best mix of music and fun to wind down your day. Listen out for a slice of cheese, the rotten tomato, and remember the bees. Intrigued? Don't miss the Drive Time Show with Nigel G every Monday to Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. on seclosounds.org.
And now to conclude the feature on Aruba, and I'll start off by asking Tirso about the wildlife on the island. Is there much in the way of wildlife on the island?
There is wildlife, no dangerous animals though, and I think that our wildlife is very well represented in the with birds. We have a lot of specific birds that are special to the island. We have a little parakeet that's only found on the ABC Islands, Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao. And we also have a little burrowing owl that's very typical of the island, and it's became a national symbol to Aruba. So that would be the most popular wildlife animals we have.
But nothing dangerous. That's a shame.
No. We have a little rattlesnake, though, and they are poisonous, but they don't kill people. So if you get bitten, which is very rarely, at the hospital, you can get a little shot, and it's okay. That's, I think, the most dangerous animal we have.
All right. You mentioned the rugged north coast. Are there any other natural wonders, and can you still pan for gold? Mine for
Yes.
gold.
Yeah, we have on the north coast. We have a thing called Conchi, which is a natural pool. Because on the north side of the island, the sea is very rough, so it's not recommended to go swimming there. However, within the rocks, there's a little basin, a natural basin where the waves pound in water and it stays calm in there. So it's like a natural swimming pool within the rough seas. And so that's one of the natural wonders we have on that side of the island. And regarding gold, we used to have proper gold mines about 100 and 120 years ago. And now when it rains, sometimes in the national park, when you look very good, you can get very little drops or nuggets of gold. But I don't think you'll find a lot of big chunks of gold now.
So I won't be able to pay for my holiday then?
No, I don't think so.
The capital city, I think you said it's pronounced Oranjestad?
Yes, that's correct.
That's
Orange City.
Orange City. Does it have much to offer the tourist?
Yes, it's the historic. It has a lot of historical buildings, and it's also home of two of our biggest museums: the Archaeological Museum and the Historical Museum. It's also host to a lot of shops. We have a nice main street with some historical buildings, and currently the main street has been made traffic-free. Just the tram passes through. And a lot of gastronomy, of course, in Oranjestad. And Oranjestad is also a harbor city, so we have a nice boulevard. You can make a nice stroll next to the water. A lot of bars and cafes on the boulevard side. So Oranjestad offers a lot for during the day and also during the night.
It's very expensive to get married over here in the UK. How easy is it to get married in Aruba?
In principle, it's quite easy. You can have a civil wedding on Aruba or a religious wedding. And the civil wedding will always be held at City Hall. And the religious weddings you can do wherever you want on the island, providing you made the arrangements with the church. And recently they have adapted the laws on Aruba, so a civil wedding on Aruba will be legal also in your home country.
That'd be handy, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Legal. It's a long way to go, so what would you say is the minimum length of stay you should have for a holiday?
Well, I always say if you come to Aruba, come 2 weeks, but on average people stay about 10 days. So a week and a half would be just enough for you to see and experience the whole island. So I would always try to take 2 weekends and a week in between.
More and more people now are using the internet to put their own holidays together. Is DIY travel easy, or should travellers use a travel agent and tour operator?
Well, they can. It depends. We always recommend for people to book either on the internet or through a travel agent, but book before they get to the island, because sometimes we get requests. I'll fly into Aruba and I'll look for accommodation when I'm there. We disrecommend it because the tourism industry is doing quite well. So sometimes you might get a surprise that you don't get any rooms when you're on island. Of course, if you the question book online or book through a travel agency, we leave that up to the consumer. Nowadays, it's so easy to book your holiday through dynamic packaging. Different websites offer that. But if you want certain security or expertise by a travel agent, I mean, we work with a lot of travel agencies and chains and tour operators in the UK, so that's a marvelous option as well.
Are there any, you said about the rooms could be full, are there any big events planned over the next year or so?
Definitely. We just had last weekend the first edition of the Electric Festival. which is a first for us and I think for the Caribbean. It's a 3 days festival with lots of international DJs. And next year it will be held again in June, and it will be expanded to 1 week. And it's also a conference for electronic music. Then for this year, we still have the Caribbean Sea Jazz event in October, with the highlight being George Benson. That's also a 3-day festival on the island. In November, we have Aruba in Style, which hosts a lot of designers from all over the world. We have a lot of catwalks on the island. Everything is dedicated to design and style. And then in November, we also host a new sport. It's called beach tennis, and it's growing in popularity internationally. And last year, we had the third largest competition in the world with 600 participants. And it's basically tennis on the beach. It's almost the same court they use for beach volley. Just you play tennis, and it goes very fast. I've seen the pros last year. It's a very fast sport, very exciting. And also, recently we found out that the Football World Cup, the FIFA World Cup, will do a world tour, and on the 2nd of November it will do a stop on Aruba, so we'll have some activities organized around that as well.
Try and picture beach tennis. I'm going to have to look it up on YouTube to have a look.
Yeah, definitely.
How can the listeners find out more about the island?
Well, we just launched a new website early this year, aruba.com, and there we have all the latest information, also the information on the events and festivals we have on the island. And there's also a section where they can contact our office in the UK for more information.
Okay, great. Thanks, Tirso. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
I just want to add a little bit more to this and talk about the Aruba Carnival, which is 60 years old in 2014. The Carnival is a month-long period of celebration which includes Queen elections, road marches, tumba, which is a local music style with jazz and African music influences, calypso contests, parties and jump-ups, all leading to a dazzling lighting parade and grand parades in the capital Oranjestad and the island's second city of San Nicolas. The official carnival season starts on November the 11th at 11:11 a.m, runs through just before Lent, but is at its height between January and March. This carnival is enjoyed by young and old, with the locals delighting visitors with free shows and a mesmerising display of colour, creativity and local culture. In Aruba, the parades consist of 15 to 20 carnival groups, each with their own theme reflected by their floats and costumes. Participants spend months on creating their glittery and often barely there costumes. Each of the 10th anniversaries of the carnival are extra spectacular, and the 60th is expected to be particularly special. Locals save for months to create their costumes and often start putting them together at the end of the previous carnival. Next year, the big finale parades in Oranjestad and St Nicholas are scheduled for March the 1st and 2nd, so book your place now. Another big date is January the 25th, when a national holiday commemorates the birth of the liberator of Aruba, G.F. Creos. This is the late political leader who was the driving force behind Aruba's desire to separate from the Netherlands Antilles in 1986, and it became an autonomous country within the Kingdom of the Netherlands. On this day, Arubans gather and welcome visitors to join in Oranjestad's Plaza Betico Crows, with a day-long programme including a culinary festival, bazaar of local goods, a cultural show of Arubian folk dances, as well as Caribbean music and dance. You can find out much more about this and probably get a better grasp than my poor reading of the press release if you visit the website for Aruba, which is www.aruba.com. Also, there's a Facebook page, which is facebook.com/ArubaFansUK. And of course, I'll be putting various links up on my own Facebook page, which is facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. You can contact us or just keep up to date with travel news at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show.
The Lisa B Show, every Tuesday, 12 to 2 p.m. Chat, music, feeding your soul, raising your vibrations. Tune into www.seclosounds.org.
In the last two shows, I talked about ways of using the internet to find out what the weather's going to be like, how to protect your money, what mistakes people have been making when using the internet without being careful, and finding the right destination, country and resort. To conclude, I'm now going to talk about finding somewhere to stay and what to see and do when you're there. I find that most people just use tripadvisor.com, which is a very good site, and I'll be talking more about this later. But there are two ways of accessing the information. There's tripadvisor.com and tripadvisor.co.uk. If you do the .co.uk version, then all the hotel prices are going to be in pounds. If you're in .com, then the prices are going to be in dollars. But not all hotels are listed on TripAdvisor, but it's generally better than going direct to a booking site first, because the booking site's going to be selling all sorts of stuff, and you'll be looking at the booking site, checking the prices, thinking about, yeah, I can afford that. Then we go into TripAdvisor to see whether it's, or such websites to see if that's the sort of place you want to stay at. But if you do your initial start of your search using the review websites and then look for the prices, confirm prices, then I think that's the best way around of doing it. But as well as tripadvisor.co.uk, there is holidays-uncovered.co.uk, holidaywatchdog.com, hotelchatter.com, hotelshark.com, holiday-truth.com, and there's many, many more. Just Google, I suppose, to find all the others. You do have to bear in mind that, while most of the reviews are genuine, there are some false ones out there. Some people could be doing dodgy, self-promoting hotel-generated reviews, and some people could be moaning about the hotel just to be mean, to be perfectly frank. And the way to find out, in my view, is to actually read what the words are saying and make an opinion based on how the words are typed up. What I mean by that is, if somebody's got a traditional British name but the English isn't very good, then the chances are, in my opinion, somebody whose English isn't a first language has set up a false account, put in a traditional British name, and then tried their best to write a good review for their hotel, but of course the English showed through. But it's not just people putting up dodgy reviews. People complain about all sorts of things, and are the complaints really relevant to you? So instead of just going on the marks out of 5, the stars out of 5, read every review to make sure that it's relevant to you. As an example, somebody gave a hotel a mark of 1 out of 5 and said the hotel's terrible. And the reason for this was there was a lizard in his bedroom. Now, to me, a lizard in the bedroom wouldn't be a bad thing, be entertaining, be something to watch, and it helped get the insects down. But no, as far as he's concerned, the hotel's lousy. There was a lizard. I probably wouldn't have even mentioned it. Then I found a review about a hotel. The headline said heaven on earth, but all the stars were 1s out of 5s. And if you read the review, she loved the place, but for some reason, instead of giving 5 out of 5 or 4 out of 5, she gave 1 out of 5. But the reviews said different to what the stars said. And when you've read 300 or 400 of these reviews, you do get to see patterns. Americans generally say that European hotel rooms are too small, and I'm afraid to say that a lot of British people seem to hate foreign food. One hotel in Turkey, the review said not enough traditional food. I thought, great, a British person who likes Turkish food. But no, it wasn't that. There wasn't enough sausage and bacon. Do you remember a story a few years ago about a guy up near Stoke who sued Thompson about his holiday? He went to Crete and he sued because the holiday was too German. The hotel was owned by TUI, which are basically a German company, so of course there are going to be lots of Germans there. But if he had gone to TripAdvisor, he would have seen that lots of British people were complaining about the German bias of the hotel, and he could within a few minutes realise that he probably didn't want to stay there. But no, he took him to court and he was awarded £5,000. Another way of finding somewhere to stay is to use Google Maps. Put in the location you want to be, search nearby, put hotels, apartments, whatever your type of accommodation is, and loads of suggestions come up in batches of 10. You get loads of red dots if there's loads of suggestions, and the first 10 have letters on them, and you can click on the letters and it'll tell you more about the hotel. Sometimes find reviews, sometimes you don't. But if you want to stay somewhere like near Central Park, put in Central Park, and then when the pointer for Central Park is there, click on that and search nearby hotels, and hotels come up. Using Google Maps is also a good way of finding restaurants. You find the hotel you're going to stay at, click search nearby, and then put restaurants, and you can go through the restaurants to see what's nearby. So you don't have to wander around and round trying to find something to eat. Because if you do that, the chances are you're going to end up somewhere lousy. I was in Florence a little while ago. We already had our restaurant sorted out because we used Google Maps and planned ahead. But when you're sitting there, you can watch people wandering around, and they get dragged in by the guys outside the restaurants trying to drag tourists in. And in my humble opinion, some of these restaurants, their focus is on tourists because they know they're not going to come back, so they can serve cold food, small portions, and overcharge. Well, what they're going to lose because there'll be another tourist tomorrow. So using Google Maps, you can plan ahead to make sure you don't get caught by one of them lousy restaurants. When you found the right hotel, the next thing you should do is Google it, just to see if there's been any adverse news stories on that particular hotel. A few years ago, in New York, bed bugs were a problem. If you Googled the hotel, you might find that people have been suing over bed bugs. There was 2 hotels in Mexico with similar names, both reviewed very well. A pensioner took her grown-up daughter there for a treat. She saw the reviews, thought they were great, didn't read them, saw the price, loved the price, all-inclusive, booked it. It was basically a swinging type hotel, like hedonism. There's all sorts of things going on. She didn't know where to look. Was not a suitable holiday for her and her daughter. But to save people like that, you just Google this particular hotel and the story comes up, Blue Bay Club. The story comes up and you can go, yep, that really isn't the hotel for me, or yes please, where do I sign up?
This is Seclo Sounds, your community radio station. If you'd like to volunteer some of your time and skills with Seclo Sounds, send an email to volunteers@seclosounds.org and let us know how you would like to be involved. MK Flyers Online, the fast and simple way to find any kind of business or service locally. Find us at mkflyersonline.co.uk or download the MK Flyers mobile app from your app store. MK Flyers Online proudly supports Seclo Sounds, community radio for Milton Keynes.
The John Guinn Travel Show. Checking it out before you check in on seclosounds.org. Still to come is the concluding part of my series on using the internet to research holiday and travel. And also there'll be travel news. A few years ago, I used to be scared of flying. It was a real problem, and I used to panic about the trip for days in advance. The night before I wouldn't go to sleep, and I wouldn't sleep on the plane. I was nervous and I was grabbing hold of the chair the whole time. This was before 9/11, and on one trip I got taken into the cockpit and I was treated like a kid. I was about 30 at the time. It did make me feel a bit better, and the view from a cockpit, if you've ever been lucky enough to be in one, is just amazing when the sun's rising. And of course we landed. On the front page of the papers there was a picture of a plane crash that happened in England the day before, and the plane was on the ground in 2 pieces. So I was back to where I started. I saw the doctor, took Valium, and that sorted it. In fact, I flew back from Kenya a few days after September the 11th. And a lot of people were very nervous on the flight, but I was out of it on Valium. I'd even spoken to the security guards in Swahili and had invites to go back because I was the only one who wasn't giving anybody a hard time. Obviously, Valium's not the best way to go, and there are various ways to deal with the problem. I spoke to Lee Adley, who's a hypnotherapist, to find out how hypnotherapy can help those who are scared of flying. Lee, do you know how big a problem being scared of flying is for travellers?
Well, it seems to be quite a problem. The latest stats show that as many as 25% of people are quite apprehensive about flying. And to give it its official name, it's called aerophobia. But of course, most of us know it as a fear of flying, and up to 10% of those 25% that are apprehensive suffer from a real phobia.
Why does this anxiety surface?
Well, a good question. People may have had a bad flight and been frightened by turbulence, an emergency landing, a plane that may be turned back due to mechanical failure of some kind. But it isn't always the actual flight experience that causes this fear. It could be due to the media attention, where there's a crash or an emergency situation. And although crashes are extremely rare, as we know, they get an enormous amount of coverage from the press. Also, of course, there are TV programs devoted to things that can go wrong on an aircraft. They actually fan the flames of fear because they don't actually state how rare the occurrences are.
No, they never do that, do they?
No.
No fun in that.
No, they frighten us all to death, dear.
So it's not just crashing that people are worried about. What else are they worried?
Well, there are some diverse reasons that people are fearful of flying. If they have a panic disorder, if they have claustrophobia, fear of heights even, then they become fearful of flying as well as the other thing they're frightened of. People feel out of control as well on aircraft because they're not in control, unlike being a car driver. In a plane, they're not driving the plane or flying the plane. But what they are doing is being in charge of their own emotions whilst they're on the plane. So actually they are in control of themselves. You know, I always say that the crew don't want anything awful to happen to themselves either, so it's quite selfishly of them, actually.
Yeah.
They take a great deal of trouble to ensure everything is safe on the aircraft. Sometimes the fear itself can just start because people are stressed in other areas of their lives.
So it can start at any stage of life, and is it a learned fear?
It can start at any stage of life. Some people have been flying quite happily for years and years. Suddenly it can develop just out of the blue, possibly due to anxiety and other areas in their lives. It can certainly be a learned behaviour, particularly as children are so responsive to what the parents do and say. So mums and dads out there, just be cautious about what you're saying.
And husbands, because my wife never used to be scared of flying until I was, and now I'm okay, and now she's scared. So
Oh dear, just turned round.
Too.
She'll have to come and see me.
She will, yeah. Well, what are the main symptoms?
Well, the main symptoms, the main physical symptoms include shaking, sweating, gastrointestinal distress, heart palpitations. People become flushed, disorientated, unable to think clearly. That's because all the blood rushes away from the head. People have heard of the fight or flight response, I'm sure, but they're getting basically an adrenaline rush. People also may feel irritable, upset, lash out at friends, or even airline personnel, which is never a good idea.
No.
And some people are reasonably comfortable at the airport, but then begin to experience symptoms before boarding the plane. Others have difficulty as soon as they reach the airport, whereas others are fearful for days and days before and are anticipating feeling fearful. And so they develop actually a fear of fear.
Yeah, but I used to stay awake the night before.
Did you?
And wouldn't go to sleep on the plane, because if I went to sleep, the plane would crash. That's what I thought. So that was
Gosh.
I was awake for the whole time.
And actually, whether you're asleep or awake, it makes no odds.
No. Should sufferers force themselves to face this fear without any help?
Well, I would say that most people need help to overcome a fear or phobia of whatever kind. And most people fan the fear by avoiding things that causes it. And therefore, if they never face up to the fact that nothing awful happens, then obviously it will get worse and worse if they don't try it. So that's called avoidance technique. And the only way of overcoming that is through taking small steps to overcome it. So perhaps driving to the airport and parking, and then the next time going inside the terminal building. Maybe then experiencing a flight simulator. But the good thing is all these things can be experienced in the mind in a state of hypnosis.
You can contact us or just keep up to date with travel news at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show.
What is hypnotherapy?
Well, it's a feeling of deep relaxation. You're never really fully awake or fully asleep. You're not unconscious. You do remain totally in control throughout. It's not like being asleep, but just drifting off to sleep that moment when you're just about to drop off. And I often refer to it as trance sleep. And you know, John, hypnosis is a state of mind that many of us experience almost every day. When we're driving to work the same route time after time, we might get there and think, blimey, I can't remember having got here, really. A lot of people watch the TV, have no idea what they're watching, are just in a daydreamy state. So that's the sort of trance-like state that people may have under hypnosis. Everyone has a different experience. Some people see lots of bright colours. Some people feel very heavy, very tingly. As I say, everybody's different. It's about comfort and relaxation, basically. And when you're fully relaxed, your conscious mind is switched off. Your subconscious mind is able to overcome negative habits, learn new positive habits, and create new patterns of behaviour. And that's why hypnotherapy is so successful.
Some would say I go around in a permanent state of that. But they're just being unkind to me, I think.
That's mean.
How can hypnotherapy help those who are scared of flying?
Hypnotherapy accesses the emotional subconscious mind. It's all right being very logical and analytical and saying, I'm not going to have this fear or anything, but it comes from the emotional subconscious part of you. And your subconscious actually is amazing. It's where all events, memories, smells, sounds, etc. that you've ever experienced reside. And under hypnosis, positive suggestions for your benefit, they're embedded in your subconscious mind and they allow you to make the changes that you wish to make. Just some statements from a couple of people who have helped with the fear of flying. One of them said, I just wanted to send you a quick email to say thank you so much for all your help over the last few months. The flight to New York and back was a huge success, and I'm so proud of what I did. There was a lot of turbulence on the way home, but I didn't have one panic attack. There was no motion sickness, and I didn't even cry. I stayed calm the whole way through the flight. That's lovely when people say things like that. It makes it so worthwhile. Yeah.
What would a session look like?
For most people, everyone's different, of course, but for the majority of people, we would have a mental rehearsal under hypnosis. That would happen before the flight. I give them a CD to listen to before the flight out and before they return. So I gather all the details from them, such as which airport they're going to, what timing, where they're staying the night before if they are, or how they get into the airport. But prior to that, we'd probably undertake a phobia release session, a calm breathing and muscle relaxant session, and also something called thought field therapy, or TFT, which is a bit like acupuncture, but it's using your fingers instead of needles, and that can be great at releasing panic or anxiety.
And that'd be good for me too, because I don't like needles.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, absolutely. I can help you with that fear as well, John.
Is it a long process, or can this be instant?
No, I would say it's very unlikely to be instantaneous. Most people have had this fear for quite some time, and hypnotherapy is not magic, regardless of what you might see on the TV. The average number of sessions is usually 4, so we'd count back the weeks from your actual flight and work towards that date.
Do you have any tips for those who have a fear?
The most important one, of course, is to avoid the fear. It will only get worse if it's not confronted. So as Susan Jeffers, the author, says, feel the fear and do it anyway. you'll probably need help to stop avoiding it. So do come along and see me. I offer a free initial consultation where we can discuss how you can be helped.
How do you help people?
I help people who want to help themselves and they want to change. I am only a facilitator to the power of their own mind.
Lee, how do people find out more about you?
Well, they can phone me on 01908 265 410, or they can contact me via my website, www.setyourmindfree.co.uk.
Hello, I'm Jim Cleland, and every Thursday between 12 and 2 p.m. on Secklow Sounds Radio, you can hear all things MK, where I will be bringing you local news, weather, traffic and travel, what's going on in Milton Keynes, and stories to make you smile. I will be raising the profile of different communities in our area and how you can get involved, presenting you with a music triple teaser, spotlighting local businesses and playing lots of music. Join me, Jim Cleland, for all things MK every Thursday between 12 and 2 on Secklow Sounds Radio.
All the websites mentioned on today's show can be found on the facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show page. Still to come, travel news, but first the concluding part of my series on using the internet to research your holiday and travel trips. So how can you avoid a hotel nightmare? I've already gone through about using websites like TripAdvisor to find the perfect hotel. But here are my top tips. Visit the hotel's own website. It's a start, but they're not always reliable. Take a look at the pictures. Look at the clothes people are wearing. Are the fashions really out of date? The hotel might not have been done up since these pictures were taken, which could have been 30 years ago. Check out the hotel's description as well. If the hotel's going on and on about what's in the area and hardly mentions anything about the hotel itself, what's it hiding? Obviously hasn't got anything it wants to shout about. Don't go by the impressive name. Don't make the mistake of associating a luxurious sounding name for quality. Maybe they've got Plaza or Seasons added in the hotel name. Doesn't mean it's going to be a quality hotel. Check any available reviews. Don't skip this step. I've already mentioned TripAdvisor and listed a load of others earlier in the show. Let's find out what people have said about it. Don't just check the recent reviews as well. Always check the period you're travelling as far back as you can go, because there could be seasonal problems. If a hotel couldn't cope with the crowds of August last year and the year before that and the year before that, what makes you think they're going to be any better at coping this year? Check forums. If you're not getting anywhere with reviews, go on a forum such as TripAdvisor's forum. Ask the question, has anybody stayed at this hotel? What did you think? Don't accept the room when you're taken up there by the porter if you're not happy with it. Reject it straight away, because once you're in, it's very difficult for you to get out of that room. Ask the porter, would you stay in this room? What's the best room available in the hotel? Can I have that one? Don't ask, don't get. And if you have a problem and you've booked through a travel agent, tour operator, complain to the hotel first. Get names, record times, record responses. The hotel will probably sort it out a lot quicker, and by the time you get back home, it's too late to do anything about it. I mentioned about people flying to the wrong airport, and if you can use the right airport code, you can go to the right airport, you don't have that same problem. But as well as hotels, there are reviews on flights as well. SeatGuru.com, practically every seat on every airline and every aeroplane has had a review or a guided note about it. Find out if you're going to have reduced foot room, because there could be a massive power supply under the seat in front of you. Whether you're going to be close to the toilets, the smells of the galley, maybe the plane's a bit wobbly at a certain place. SeatGuru.com will tell you whether the seat's any good or not. And with airlines now allowing you to book seats well in advance, you might not need to go try and get a free upgrade, because you can choose the best available seat left in the class you're travelling in. With flights, there are 3 ways of getting from A to B. There's the favoured, which is non-stop. Then there is direct. And direct is not non-stop. Direct means you don't get off the plane, but there may be a stop or two in between You're getting on the plane and you're getting off. British Airways fly direct to Cayman Islands from Heathrow, but it touches down in the Bahamas for an hour and a half. That same flight can be classed as being non-stop to the Bahamas. And then the third type is connecting. And connecting is where the travel can start. With the no-frills airlines, people could be tempted to fly, let's say for example Ryanair or EasyJet to somewhere like Amsterdam, and then taking a more expensive flight from Amsterdam to the destination because it's cheaper than actually flying with a proper airline. Not proper, but you know what I mean, from London. But you have two different tickets. If the EasyJet flight is late, the airline you're flying from Amsterdam with won't care. You'll be down as a no-show and you have to buy a new ticket. So if you're going for a connecting flight, try your best to make sure it's all under one ticket. So you're with the one airline or one airline group. So if your initial flight is delayed, they have to put you on the next available flight next time because it's their fault that you were late for that flight. It's all under one contract. It's a lot easier. And notice I said the next available flight. Doesn't mean you'll be on the next flight because that could be full. So it'll be the next available flight. Airlines are also reviewed as well as the seats. Airlinequality.com gives you information on various routes. Now you do need to know the airport codes to find out because this is how the flights are listed and you have to go through the lists one by one because there's no really easy way of searching. But by using a website like this, you can see if it's worth spending the extra £30-40 to fly with somebody else for their best service. If you're saving £100, it might feel a lot like it would have been worth spending it by the time you got to the other end. Use this website, you can see whether it's worth taking a gamble or not. Don't forget, if you're on a honeymoon and you're going to go up to the flight attendant and ask for an upgrade, you could be the 12th couple to ask for that on that flight. If you want to fly first class, then the best way of doing it, apart from working for the airline, is to buy a first class ticket. Flight rules. Every seat has a specific set of rules to how that ticket can be used. And I don't come across anybody really who prints these rules out. These are very important. For example, a couple of years ago I found Virgin flights, London to New York, £250, San Francisco back to London, £275. Put them together, it comes to £1,500. To use both those tickets you had to stay over the Saturday night. But the customer wanted to do Monday to Friday, so those tickets weren't valid. You couldn't use them. If you try and get a cheap ticket with one airline and then fly back on another, and the airline suspects that you're breaking the rules, they'll ask you for a price increase or they will refuse boarding because it's under the rules. When you click on the yes, I agree to the terms and conditions, you've accepted that you will pay extra if they feel that you're not following the rules correctly. So check out the rules. At least you know what you can and can't do with your ticket, and it saves ringing up and being on hold on an expensive 0871 number trying to find out what you could have found out if you had the rules in the first place. Rules to look out for are the ticket refundable, and the cheapest fares are generally not refundable. Can you alter it, and if you can, how much will it cost? Can two single trips, these ones I just mentioned earlier, can they be combined to make a return trip or an open jaw trip? An open jaw trip is just how I explained with the London to New York and San Francisco back to London. An open jaw, you land at one airport and then you fly back from another. You're listening to the John Guinn Travel Show on seclosounds.org. So in conclusion, you should always make sure you're aware of all the risks to you in body and in money terms before you book any holiday. Don't rely on a tour operator's description alone. Always double check for other sources to get a rounded idea about where you're going. You should always be confident in what you are doing before you hand over your money. Do not assume that you have a package holiday just because you book flights and accommodation where you think you bought it from the same website. There could be different websites, different companies. Always read the terms and conditions of booking. When booking flights and accommodation separately, neither company will care if the other doesn't provide what you've paid for. Now, using online agents, you may find that they will try and get out of any problems by saying they're only acting as an agent If you have any complaints, you have to complain direct to the person who supplied the products. Shouldn't really. They should look after it. If a company lists a membership number, such as ABTA, ATO or TTA, visit the website, check that the number is valid and the company is still a member. If you book locally, if, for example, a hire car, you book it with a company in France via the internet because it's cheaper than using a company based in the UK. Remember, if you have a problem when you come back, you have to contact that particular office. It's very easy for people to ignore emails, and it can be very expensive to keep making phone calls or getting a translator to translate all the paperwork. But by being careful and using the techniques and websites I've mentioned over the last 3 shows, you will have a great holiday at a great price, and one to be remembered for all the right reasons.
Classics from scratch. Discover classical music with me, Catherine Rose. I'll be joined by special guests from the musical world and a visit from Lady Effingham, who has a lot to say about the classical music scene. I'll be live here every Thursday with a mixture of the familiar and the new. Join me on Classics from Scratch on Thursdays at 2, online at seclosounds.org.
And now, travel news. Well, I guess the big story is a little bit of a boo-boo that United Airlines made on Thursday the 12th of September. It's quite a big boo-boo for an airline because they had a glitch on their website and they were giving away seats for practically nothing. Passengers are reported to have been buying tickets for $5 or $10. United says it accidentally filed fares for $0, although the airport charges might have resulted in a small cost, $5 and $10. This became big news on Twitter, and that's when the United Airlines got to find out about it, and they very quickly shut the website down for a few hours. The spokeswoman for the airline says the problem wasn't down to the website, it was down to inputting the data onto the website. And it doesn't yet know how many tickets were sold at the unusually low prices, and is yet to decide whether it's going to honour the prices or not. I never find things like this, I always find out about it afterwards when it's too late. But if you've ever had a purchase you got cheap because of a glitch, do let us know at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show so we can share in your story. Travelodge has been criticised by the Advertising Standards Authority over a spring promotion in which Travelodge claimed to offer rooms in central London from only £39 a night. The consumer complained that they had been unable to book a room at that price, and the watchdog found that the offer breached its advertising code. Travelodge did claim that more than 30,000 rooms were available in central London at £39 or less during this promotion, which did run from the 22nd of March to the 9th of June. However, out of the 79 nights this was running, there have been 17 nights where there have been no availability at all at any hotel, and an additional 22 nights where availability had been significantly restricted, while almost two-thirds of availability had been over the 15 Sundays and Bank Holiday Mondays that fell between the offer period, said the ASA. Of the remaining 19 hotels, availability across the offer period had been significantly restricted at 2 of them. The ad did suggest there may be some limited availability, but the ASA said that Travelodge needed to demonstrate that availability had been spread evenly across the offer period, and that the locations which were included, so customers could have had a reasonable chance of being able to take advantage of the offer. And because the ASA considered that Travelodge had not demonstrated this, they concluded that the advert was misleading. And that's the end of the travel news. Well, that's it for another edition of my travel show. Thank you for listening, dear listener. The websites mentioned on today's show will be put on the facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show page, so you can look at them later. I have also put up a video from YouTube about beach tennis for those of you, which did include me, who couldn't figure out what beach tennis looks like. Word of a warning, it's a very loud video. You may need to turn the speakers down before you click the play button. If you have any travel stories from the summer holidays, please do share it. You can share by sending me a message at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show or contacting me via Twitter at holiday_hut. The next show will be focusing on the Cook Islands and on travel insurance. All you need to know about travel insurance and why it's so important. I know people don't want to do it because they feel it's a bit of a rip-off, but I have a guest on to explain that it isn't and why you do need to make sure you tell all the insurance companies about any pre-existing conditions. So join me next Monday at 12 o'clock, setclosesounds.org, for the John Guinn Travel Show.
Aruba.
MK Pulse proudly sponsors Seclo Sounds. MK Pulse is Milton Keynes' local magazine, bringing helpful information on food, health, fashion, money, travel, culture, and much more to 66,000 readers every month. Plus news, views, and what's on from around the city. If it's happening in Milton Keynes, it's in MK Pulse, and it's available online at www.mkpulse.co.uk. MK Pulse and Seclo Sounds, the heart and soul of the city.